Welcome to Bleav In 76ers with your hosts, former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and two Sixers fanatics in Marcus and Teja Dash. Bleav In 76ers is presented by BetOnline.AG.
BetOnline.AG is your number one source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest player reports for this year's pro basketball playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs. Basketball, MLB, NHL, right to UFC, and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games you can play right from your home. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code, that's Bleav, B-L-E-A-V, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. Hey guys, welcome to Bleav In 76ers podcast. I'm Marcus Dash here with legendary 76ers point guard Eric Snow and my brother Teja Dash. So today marks our first episode of the offseason. Since we're no longer in anymore, our show will be moving to its normal offseason pace of one episode a week. But yeah, lots to get into today. I thought we were just going to have a reaction to Game 7 episode, but then this morning, breaking news happened. Doc Rivers is no longer a part of the Philadelphia 76ers. We're going to get into all that, but just initial reaction when you guys got the news. What was your initial response to that?
I couldn't say I was surprised. I mean, it was just like, oh, that was quick. That was my normal reaction. I mean, that was my reaction. Because it, you know, we talked about it. If we didn't get past the semifinals, so it could be a different looking team. So just wasn't shocked, wasn't surprised. Just like, oh, I wonder who they'll get. That was my response.
Do you think this would have gone any differently had we won or had we lost like a last second shot to lose the game? Or like no matter what, this was happening?
Yeah, I think this was happening because we lost Game 6. I thought Game 6 was the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't surprised either. Didn't even give us enough time to mourn, really. We went right into off-season programming.
Yeah.
We were still upset about our loss, and then this happened. It's crazy.
That's the way you take the attention and put it and redirect it somewhere else.
Smart.
Yeah. It's also it's just sports, man. It's just so cutthroat. It's like this is a man's job, and like it's just like, I don't know, just seeing all the Twitter comments like, oh, move on from Doc, let's go do this, and this. It's like, you know, it's still, I mean, I know Doc's a professional, he's been in the league for so long doing this and as a player and a coach, but it's, I don't know, it just feels crummy. It's it's a man's job. Like, people are rooting for it. So a lot of people are so happy that he's gone, and it's just like, I don't know. I don't think he deserved it. I thought he coached. I thought this year was probably his best coaching job with our team this year. And
you can make a great argument for that, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a year where we lost a lot of guys,
people don't care. I mean, they like Teja, and they think they get so much money that they shouldn't have any feelings. Like, you just get rid of them. It don't even matter. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it don't hurt anybody to say somebody should be losing their job, but only in sports people do that. Like, he should be fired, cut him, get rid of him. He stinks. Get out, get it. Like,
he's still getting paid
because you make a lot of money. You shouldn't feel it. You should still be okay.
Rivers is still going to get paid, though.
There you go.
Still getting paid.
Okay.
There you go. You shouldn't feel it. You should feel sorry for the guy, apparently, Tej. Right?
Yeah.
Hey.
I mean, he says he's still going to get paid, and we're going to be paying two coaches. So I guess it's Josh Harris money. So why do we care? Right?
Yeah.
So then we shouldn't care about Tobias then.
I was just going to say that's why we shouldn't care about Tobias. Problem is, though, I will say, the problem is coach's money doesn't go against a salary cap. So that goes
against the business decisions, though.
So do the concessions and how much beers
That's
cost.
my point. It goes against the business decision, so it's all looped in one money.
Yeah, Miller Lite costs at Philadelphia games also are business decisions. I don't. That doesn't concern me though.
It goes into business decisions.
Yeah, well, Harris is doing just all right. He's got the Commanders now. He's doing just fine. Do you think with the fact that we are paying 2 years of Doc's the next 2 years of his contract, do you think that factors in as to what coach will get next, as far as we may go the cheaper route rather than going to get the biggest name out there, or does that not matter?
I mean, I think if you made this move, you're not making this move to go the cheapest route.
Yeah,
you're making this move because you want to feel like you need to get better.
Go
And if
right
you feel like you need to want to get better, then you're not getting anybody cheaper.
Yeah.
So you'll pay a lot for a retired coach that's been there, or a recycled coach that just recently got fired. Or if you want a cheaper route, then you'll go someone hasn't coached before that was maybe on your staff. You can pay that person less.
Mm-hmm.
But someone that's been a head coach and did a lot and previously, you're gonna pay them around the same. You're gonna pay them their market value.
Yeah. And there are a lot of high-profile jobs out there, so a coach could try to leverage. But there are also a lot of
what high-profile jobs are out there
available.
Yeah,
ours.
The Lakers available or something? The Knicks? Like, who's available? You said high-profile.
I mean, Milwaukee, Phoenix, not the city itself.
High-profile.
Those are championship teams. Those are championship teams.
A high-profile job. It's just a good team.
I'd say the Knicks are a good team.
No, I'm just saying a high-profile job, meaning like you get a lot of media attention. Like, that's how I'm looking at it, a high-profile job.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see even Phoenix like that. I don't see Phoenix, Milwaukee like that. Yes, their teams are good, but I don't see them as high-profile jobs. If all things were equal between New York, Boston, LA, those would be considered the high-profile jobs from my standpoint. Because we talked about the Lakers when they were 2-10. We won't talk about Milwaukee if they're 2-10.
Oh yeah, it's how well they're doing that makes it more appealing.
No, but you're not hearing what I'm saying. We talked about the Lakers when they were 2-10. We wouldn't talk about Milwaukee if they were 2-10.
Yeah,
that's the difference. Is what I'm saying.
That's true, but Milwaukee hasn't been 2-10 in a very, very long time. That's
why I'm just saying why I think it's not a high-profile job. I think it's a good job because they're winning and they got a very, very talented guy that'll keep them competitive every season.
Yeah,
I just don't think it's a high-profile job.
Most appealing, then.
Yes.
We have very
appealing. Yes.
Appealing destinations to go to.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk about this Doc situation a little bit more, and then also some of the potential candidates. One guy I didn't mention in the potential candidates that Woj tweeted out earlier was a betting line actually had JJ Redick as one of the highest odds, actually the highest odds to land the Sixers head coaching position. So I guess that'd be the cheaper route probably, because or is that a high profile guy that they're bringing into this? The guy who's going from TV to do that. Would that be a cheaper route guy because he's never been a coach before, Eric? Or would that be
I would assume it would be a cheaper route.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. So
would that be striking to you?
It's not our money.
Yeah, that's true.
They may throw him, they may make him the highest paid job. Like,
yeah.
Who knows?
The Philly cheesesteaks will be going up in the stadium for sure.
I'm just, we make a decision. Look, we made a decision to get rid of a guy that we won with. We lost in Game 7 as a third best record in the league to the team with the second best record in 7 games. Ugly game. No matter if it was 2 points or 30 points, you still lost. So whoever you get now, you're saying you're getting them so you can get past this point. So whatever route you go, the objective is still the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who knows? They're probably thinking in their minds, we haven't really we haven't improved from Brett Brown to Doc Rivers. Like what have we accomplished?
We have not improved. Yeah, we have not improved. And
even the yearly records, they're pretty good last couple of years.
Brett Brown, and you have Doc Rivers, and the team's been fairly competitive and good. And you've fired 2 coaches. I guess now it's time to start blaming the players. That's next.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of that before this Doc firing today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is as it should.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. If you're a player, players know if they could have did more, should have did more. Like maybe we don't always want to hear it as players, or we don't want people that's maybe someone considered irrelevant to them telling them, or talking heads on TV, or us. Like they probably want to hear us saying it, but that don't change the reality. But most of the guys know it. If you real, you know, I could have did more, should have did more. If you real about it, you just don't. You may not want to hear people say it all the time, but you know it. I mean, I didn't play a season where our season ended, and I didn't feel like, man, I didn't do enough. Like, if you don't win a championship, part of you feel that way if you care.
Yeah,
I know these guys make a lot of money now. Like, trust me, they make more in a year than I made in my career. A lot of them do. Like half the league make more in 1 year than I made in my career, or 2 years in my career. So maybe it's a little easier to just be like, oh well, the season's over. But it's still, if you've been true and you've been honest and you care about the game, you care about winning, you care about your teammates, you have to have some form of evaluation, self-evaluation, to say, how can I have done better and what do I need to do going forward? If you don't, that's how guys get into that same pattern where we still saying the same thing about the person 2 years later, 3 years later, 4 years later, 5 years later, you're still saying the same stuff about them.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you bring that up. Oh, go ahead, Eric. Finish your
thought. No, go ahead.
Interesting you say that. I was listening to a podcast with DeRozan was on as a guest, and he was killing like NBA players. He was just like, you have no idea how many guys don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. So many guys do not care. They just don't love the game that much. They show up. They want to say all the right things and act like they give a shit, but they care more about, just making it, being there, having the money, and being a player than actually improving and working at the game and coming in every day and working hard. They just don't. A lot of guys just don't care that much. And you see, there's a lot of them too. It's a big portion of the league. Do you feel like it's gotten, compared to your time, do you feel like it's gotten worse with time and money? Because you brought up the whole like salary blow up, right? Because it's just astronomical.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say, it's easy to point at the money. But even though we didn't make what these guys made, we still make good money.
Yeah, of course.
Like, so
you're not complaining.
Yeah, we still make good money. I mean, so I do know for a fact that DeMar's correct. I can't put a number on that, but I do know it exists. It did exist when I played, but the difference was the league wasn't as young when I played. So you had guys that were fighting to stay in, and it was their livelihood. They had families, and older. So they're fighting to survive and eat and take care of their families. Whereas now you got guys that are coming in, and the league is so young that before a lot of these guys turn 26 years old, they've almost made $80 to $100 million. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's easy to be like, I made it, to say I made it early versus guys saying I made it at 29, 30 years old.
Yeah. So guys are getting paid more now before they've had to prove it for a number of years.
Yes, and they're getting paid and without really numbers mattering, without winning mattering.
Potential is a lot more important now,
Yeah,
I feel.
People are getting the money because they were drafted there, or guy was drafted and he comes and he plays and he averages 12 points and everybody like he's getting better, and he sits out 30 out of the 82 games and there's no consequence for not improving. It's no consequence for the team not winning. Like everything is just you play, you show up, and you don't have to show that you're passionate about it. It doesn't matter. So if you show that, and that's why I think a lot of these guys are so talented that they can do that. So talented, so skilled that they can show up and not really love to. I think most of these guys love to play basketball. I think the love of being a professional or CEO of your own company is where a lot of them fall short, because making sure that you do everything that you need to do in order to be successful, in order for the team to be successful, I don't think that ever takes priority. I think I'm doing my job. I'm gonna go in, hoop a little bit. It's like going to the rec, go hoop, go play ball. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I think DeMar was right, was blaming some of the, like not really blaming players, but saying how players feel about it. But I ultimately think it starts from the top, because it's a lot of ownership that want to be friends with guys and want to hang out. Like, I never hung out with my owner. Like, I didn't have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have created some opportunities for myself, but I'm just saying, like, that's how different it was. But you have such a situation where these guys got straight access to ownership. They got straight access to management. That right there makes a coach irrelevant. I think they've made, to a certain extent in this league, coaches has become irrelevant. I really firmly believe that. So coaching has become somewhat irrelevant. Them managing the players. So guys can act like they don't care if a coach can't manage it and tell a guy you can't do this, you shouldn't do that. Then how's the guy gonna say? How you gonna see where the guy cares so much if you've taken some control away from the coach?
Yeah,
you got a numbers guy telling them who to play.
Yeah,
where they should be playing. They should be getting their shots from here. They should be doing this and doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You give them this roster, then you don't. And when they don't do it right, then you tell them you shouldn't. So you balanced out in coaching to the point where it's now players don't have to really go to the coach if they have an issue. Then we don't win. Well, let's get rid of the coach.
Yeah.
To bring in another coach, most likely a fire coach, and the same pattern happens.
It's almost a professional scapegoat is what coaches become.
And the same pattern happens.
They bring them in
the people that he's friends with, and same thing happens.
And they don't get nearly the credit they get if they win the championship either. If Lakers win the ring this year, it ain't gonna be Darvin Ham's doing. Okay,
it's gonna be it's gonna be those two guys and the players, and
yep,
people to put the team together.
And Pelinka for making those deadline moves.
Yeah, then D Ham and his staff after that.
Yeah,
but that's fine. He'll get a ring for it.
Yeah,
like talking about this, it made me re-look up something I saw earlier. A front office member said teams would give Victor Wemby a max contract on his second contract without even seeing him play. Like that just says it all right there. Just based on potential, we'll just give him just an insane amount of money because we hope and think he'll be the guy.
But hasn't it been like a thin 7'3" guy that came over here that shot jump shots?
Yeah. You mean like Porzingis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just asking.
That happened.
Just asking. I'm just asking, making sure it's been done before. Like I thought it had been done before.
Depending on who you ask, people might answer that question with Embiid too.
They're taller.
Not 7'4", but 7'1", and likes to take jump shots. At least in the last couple of games of that series, that's definitely true.
Wasn't Bargnani like 7'1" too? He was. Yeah.
He didn't shoot jump shots as much early on.
Yeah. He kind of developed that a little bit more.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
Well, Doc said in the press conference pre-game, they talking about like how, coaching, you never know one day the next you could be gone. And he was talking about how winning coach of the year has become a curse to not winning the coach of the year. Talk about Monty Williams and, just not winning that award. Because that's also another thing. Like, that doesn't matter. They'll fire coach of the year the following year after that.
I mean, I just said they've made coaching irrelevant.
Yeah. It's crazy. Okay, so that kind of is a good segue to our first topic, talking about Doc. After 3 years, Doc has been let go. The funny thing is, so yesterday, Ramona Shelburne came out with a story on a report of James saying, essentially, it's me or Doc. James Harden says, but Ramona Shelburne said, sources close to James said that he had a problem with Doc being his coach. It's essentially picking him or Doc. And Doc had also alluded to the team asking James to do things that he didn't necessarily want to do this season. So my question to you guys is, obviously, Harden may opt out and be a free agent this year, but do you think this move to get rid of Doc was a move made to appease James Harden? And what was Doc really asking Harden to do this year that James didn't want to do? Because I mean, he had ridiculous numbers this year.
Well, I'm not going to try to figure out what sources said and guess. I would just, in my opinion, I do not think that this decision was based solely on appeasing James. I think this decision was a collective decision that was probably talked about, most of the season, and I think it was probably an ultimatum. If we didn't get out of the second round, in my opinion, that we would make a change. I think it was more of that. I think it was more losing Game 6 where we had a chance to win at home, more than James. And that may add to it, but I just can't see that being the reason why they would do it.
What if James, because it's a culmination of the entire year, right? What if James was going to management all year about Doc, and it's like it wasn't new. Maybe he was complaining to them all year about him, saying he's doing this, he's doing that. I don't like this, I don't like that. And then the loss happened. Then it's like, well, if we lost, and like someone said, losing the players, I think JJ Redick and Stephen A talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
When it gets to a point where you lose your locker, when you lose the players, that's when it's really hard to support you at that point as management. Like, wait, I can't have your back because those guys don't want to play for you, and they gave up. And I hate to say it, but 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter of Game 6, and midway through the third quarter, I'm not saying we completely gave up, but we were pretty done. We pretty much cashed out of that game. So that's a visual. That's not good. I mean, that's not good to watch as someone who you might want to support Doc on. It's like these guys didn't play for you when push came to shove on our toughest moment, our darkest moment of the season.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, and to me, that says more about the players than Doc. Because they're not, because they quit on their teammates.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say they quit, that this is what the coach isn't doing for them. So you play for your teammates then. That's you play for them first. Yeah. You're not playing for your coaches. You're playing for each other. So
fans third.
I can't get past that. So Since we talking about that last particular play in Game 6, it was just those two guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mostly them are just like
it was mostly those two guys.
Yeah.
So, I see that differently because I see that as them quitting on them stopping on their teammates more than I say them stopping towards Doc Rivers. Because that was just a team that felt like we lost the game and that we should have won, and now we got to go to Boston.
Yep.
To me, that's what it was.
And it hit him in that moment right there.
Yeah, and I didn't take that as
the gut punch.
Doc Rivers. I think that's a reach in that particular case. So to answer your question, if he was going to James, to Morey, say for instance, he was doing that, and he has that access to him. As I've said before, they help make coaching irrelevant. So, if you have a coach of the team and the player is going straight to the general manager and he's complaining all year long, and you don't nip it in the bud, say, "Hey, let him do his job. You do your job." If we can't have some form of conversation like that, then the coach, they might as well just have a robot out there coaching, telling them what to do in Southern.
Well, you never know. Maybe in the future.
That's what you got. That's what you have.
Everything else is being automated. Why not coaching?
Go get an AI. What they call it, the AI? Yeah, get an AI to tell them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I also go back to do you remember that conversation they had in that scrimmage before the season started?
Yeah.
Where Doc was like, he's number one, you're number two. Then it goes to you. Like you, but he is first. It runs through him. I wonder if I don't know. Again, we're just I'm completely speculating on this. Maybe James was tired of being run hot and cold. Like, hey, MB doesn't have it tonight. All right, go for 40. It's like, oh, whoa. Like, that's not our offense. Now all of a sudden you want me just to shoot 28 times today and score 40 points just because we found out that MB just doesn't have it tonight. Like that's what our offense is. It's run Joel to the ground, and then when he doesn't have it or his knee hurts, I have to go for 40. That's not an offense. Like, you can't just do that all in playoff crunch time, especially when you haven't really been doing that in the season. Now all of a sudden we need James, but like we said before the season, though, that's partly what we needed him to be, right? You don't have to be Houston Harden all the time, but there are moments where we need you to be that way, and there are games where you're going to have to step up, and maybe he didn't like that. Maybe he just didn't like the hot and cold aspect of that offense of Houston Harden today. No, Sixers Harden today. No, Houston Harden today. It's like, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to figure it out because I don't know. All I know is he's not the number one option. And when you're not the number one option, it's like that sometimes. That's the only reality that from what I've seen, the MVP is the number one option.
Yep.
The guy that averaged 33 points is the number one option. So if you're not the number one option, you may get a lot of volume. You may not get a lot of volume.
Yeah. And he's still effective when he isn't the number one option. Harden, I mean.
That's not going to change with a different coach.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about the coaching search right now with our next topic. So ESPN's Woj reported that the 76ers head coach search will include Sam Cassell, Mike D'Antoni, Monty Williams, Nick Nurse, Frank Vogel, and Mike Budenholzer. Obviously, Cassell was an assistant on our staff this time around. Monty was assistant with Brett Brown, and D'Antoni was a part of the process Sixers, that 2015 and 2016 season's assistant.
We could have made up that list.
Yeah,
we could have.
We didn't need Woj to come out with that to make up this list.
Yeah, we probably could have. We probably could have just come out with that.
All the fire guys.
I probably would not have included Vogel, but yeah, all right.
Guy that's coached, high-profile players
the
last recent years and won a championship.
Yeah,
and assistant on the bench.
Yeah.
And the guy that we already have a relationship with that has coached James. Like, we could have come up with that list like that. Give me someone that I'm like, whoa, he on the list? I don't see a name like that.
JJ Redick, the betting lines have him, like I said, as a.
I'm saying that Woj say him.
No, he didn't. No.
Okay, so I'm talking about the list that Woj came out with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my question is, obviously, there's everyone.
Jay Wright, is that one you're talking about? Like Jay Wright, that'd be out of left field.
Jay Wright, but Jay Wright name has come up with Philly before.
Always.
I know.
So that's what I'm saying. We could have Jay. That name, like we could have. That's not a surprise to us.
Yeah.
No.
To hear Jay's name involved.
It became a cliche over the years, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we thought we were going to pull him for Villanova, like so. That's always been the case.
So a lot of people online are speculating about this. You have some people who love the idea of D'Antoni coming in and kind of creating that Houston Rockets kind of vibe with us. Also, Embiid wanted D'Antoni before we ended up hiring Doc a couple years ago. But I think that was to help lure Harden over. But that's what the reports were. But who would be your choice if you guys had to choose? You guys were the decision maker on this. But also, what direction do you think we would be headed in with each one of these candidates?
I have no idea, man. I don't know. I don't know what James is going to do. I don't know what Morey's going to do. I have no idea. I have no idea. You got rid of a coach. We had the third best record in the league. I don't know what you want. I don't know. I have to see what it is that they want to do, what James does. I have friends that tell me, y'all need to let almost everybody that texts me about or call me about the Sixers, almost everyone say that we need to let James go. Everyone. I haven't had one person tell me we should bring him back. Now, they also aren't Sixer fans. They probably aren't James Harden fans, obviously. But that puzzles me that not one of my friends, not one, not people that I talk to about basketball, nobody says we should bring him back.
And that's just a player. That's not talking like salary and what he's demanding.
They don't speak about salary at all. They're looking at the player.
Pure player. Okay.
Yes. Now they say some things that I don't agree with, obviously. But I'm just saying it's like I can look at my phone like right now and I can just look at every message that I've seen since they not even since Doc has been let go, but since we lost game 6. Every message it's probably 25 to 30.
Damn.
Not one said James should come back. And the majority of them don't even know his status as far as free agent. You know what I'm saying? Most of them are saying that we should trade him because they have no idea that he could be free.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they don't know his contract. So it's not like that kind of conversation where they really dialed into, the salary cap and what he has come in and how much money. Like they don't, like Teja does. So they ain't in his pocket. So they don't know like that. They're just saying they all feel like in order for us to go take the next step, he can't be there. So that's why I find it very interesting when you say the sources said that it was him or Doc. When majority of people out there think we should move on from him. Maybe Doc too. But I'm just saying, I think it was just as many people for who I speak to that feel like if Doc should go, he should go too. And kind of give it to Maxey and go get some pieces. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. I really don't. I need more time to kind of see what we're going to do. I don't know. Having James there or James leaving, I think some of it and who we get in free agency and trade for, it all depends on who you bring in as a coach. I think it can all be related. If you're talking about D'Antonio, then you probably need to get some more shooters. You know what I'm saying? Some more, versatile guys that can defend two positions and switch a little more. that's why I say it's hard because I don't know the direction. I know what direction as far as us wanting to win a championship, but I'm saying I don't know the direction as far as style of play that we're going to have. So until we decide that, it's kind of hard. So, like what we should do.
How would Embiid fit in a D'Antoni offense, Eric? If that's the route we went.
I don't know, like, because I think, everybody, when they look at D'Antonio, they look at Houston more than Phoenix. In Phoenix, they played with a 5 that was really good. That, got the ball in ISO. I think it's sort of the same. You give him a little more ISOs. And that's how he played with Amari. I would look more of how he played Amari than how he played in Houston. But D'Antonio's a good offensive mind, so he'll figure something out if that's the route. But I mean, they're all good candidates. They'll figure something out. I just don't know what we can do and how we should do it as is until we kind of get a candidate or get a guy in place.
And how fast do you see this going? Because I know NBA goes a lot faster than the NFL coaching cycles. I know that they try to get this done sooner rather than later.
Well, obviously, I think it would happen before the draft. But I think the 4 teams that are playing right now, I don't see a change with those teams. So I think it'll start picking up now with this move right here, because then you add another team to, that listed. What we said for us is probably the same list that's for Milwaukee and Toronto.
Yeah.
In Phoenix, it's probably the same list. I've heard T. Lue's name being pulled, but then that would just open up another spot.
Yep.
So I think that with this opening up, I think you'll start seeing it go pretty quick. Some of those other places have been open longer. So I think because someone's going to fight for those candidates, someone's going to grab one of them. And you want to make sure whoever you like between that group, you have to get him locked up.
You want to get your pick of the litter. Yeah. I think it's funny that the whole pick and roll offense has been a big debate with Sixers about the reliance on it, and that's one of the key things to D'Antonio's offense is the pick and roll, right? So, well, okay, hey, let's get to a more versatile offense. Let's go
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I didn't really understand. It was like pick and roll. Like, isn't that what James did? Like all the time.
Yeah. Personally,
that's what when you said that, Marcus, that's what threw me off. I'm like, pick and roll. James don't like pick and roll. Like, okay, you say so.
Personally, I think the coaching change shows I don't think we're going to make very many changes or improvements to the roster. I think we're going to try to gain an edge with the current roster with a new coach. We're hoping a new coach can unlock more things to the offense and more things to the team. Maybe they're hoping it brings maybe a D'Antoni hire would bring Harden closer to Houston Harden. Maybe they're hoping Maxey unlocks another more potential to his game and goes to a new level, takes another leap. Maybe they're hoping we're not as reliant on Embiid by doing this. I know, so I've seen a couple of polls on this. I think Nurse has actually been one of the biggest favorites of the choices. If you want in-house continuity, what's that?
Who's been the favorite? You said
Nick
Nurse.
Oh, Nurse. Okay. Favorite. Why?
What you say?
Why?
I don't know. I saw a couple polls online and
just people.
Most
voting.
fans like Nurse.
Wow.
I don't know.
We got to know if we're just picking a guy. Like, we just because why? Because we beat Toronto. Like what? Like what for what? Or Toronto beat us? And like what for what?
Hey, he's another championship coach.
I'm just saying, but what does he do that's going to help us?
I don't know.
Okay, we just voting then.
Yeah, they were just voting.
We're
I think they were
picking
just
somebody.
voting.
Yeah, I'm just saying. There's no
Actually, he won because they probably hate the other candidates more than him. That's what it probably is. They just didn't like the other guy. That's what happens a lot of times. There's a lot of D'Antoni haters out there, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them just be like, no D'Antoni, no way. I'm voting for whoever else is there. And then you can go with continuity with Cassell, right? You could do that. The guys are familiar with him. He's already in house. He has the player's ear. From what I've seen, he does give some pretty good tough love with them. And has their respect.
Sam's going to do that. He's not going to be afraid to say what he needs to say.
Although the notion with Harden and his extracurricular activities and the team not being a fan of it or the coaching, I would assume Cassell was also in that group of people that didn't love him overdoing his extracurricular activities after some bad games. So, but who knows?
I don't know how you can just put that on Doc and not everybody else.
That's what I'm saying. There's got to be more than just Doc thinking that, right? Cassell, I'm sure when Doc went back to the room, it was like, man, he needs to come in and just do some work. He can't be going.
If it was a case, if it was such a case like you say, I would imagine Sam was summoned to have the conversation before Doc ever did.
You mean with Harden?
I can believe that, yes. If it was as going on as long as we say. So it doesn't seem like it was an isolated incident.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I in my experience and in my belief, Sam was summoned to have the conversation with him before Doc ever did.
Because if Doc does it, it's a bigger deal, right? Your head coach is coming to you, talk to you about partying too much. Whereas an assistant's like, hey, man.
And then it's nowhere else to go but not good after that.
Yeah. So when Sam came back, Doc would be like, how'd he handle it? Like, not good. It's like, all right, well, I'm not going to say anything.
And as a player, you know it's coming from Doc.
Yeah, exactly, though. Exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's no
probably.
It's no
but at least he actually did make the
Coach Brown telling, having a conversation with AI about, what he needs to do on the play. Allen know it comes. He know that's coming from Coach Brown.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Yeah. I guess it's like the optics, but it's not actually the coach saying it to you, right? Hey, I never said anything to you. I mean,
you can't necessarily say it's the coach because you didn't talk to him, but we all know.
Yeah. Because then Marward might be like, man, Sam, I know you don't give a shit about this. Who is this? Is this Doc asking you to ask me? Like, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
He'd just be like, yeah, James would be like, man, come on, dude, man. Like, you play, you know how this goes, man. It's not like, and then it's just like, Sam gives his spiel of how it look and the optics and the team and other guys see it. And, make sure that, what I'm saying, like, you just look like you're not dialed in. And I know you are. I know you dialed in. But this is how it looks, and all that feel. That's how the conversation go and all that. Man.
Very delicate, very, very delicate, polite conversation with James on that one.
Yeah. So.
But I will say, going on, if they do hire a guy who has been okay with those things in the past, that doesn't send a great message. So if they do hire D'Antoni, I personally think, I don't know what you guys say, that maybe they didn't fire Doc for Harden, but if they're hiring D'Antoni, a guy who has enabled old bad habits of James, I feel like that would play a factor.
Let you in on the secret. It doesn't matter who they hire. James is going to do what James feels like he wants to do. As long as he's at practice, on time, and when he's supposed to be there, and he's at the games, and he's not late, and he's not missing things, on his free time, he's going to do what he wants to do. And no coach is going to change that.
But do you think management hiring a hard ass instead of hiring an old buddy of his sends a different statement or message to him?
Are you hearing what I'm saying?
No, he's still going to do it. But I'm sorry, the message to him though, like we want you to change your habits, or we're hiring a guy who's been cool with you doing that. You're
hear what I said. On his free time, I didn't say on the Sixers time. on his free time, he has the ability to fly somewhere and come right back and go to practice.
Yeah.
This part right here isn't new to the NBA.
Yes.
Guys have hung out and does like that's not new.
Yeah.
It's when it invades the locker room and it invades other people when it starts impacting the team.
It has, though, with him, though. It did in Houston. There were some bad stories with him in Houston.
Yeah, and he was an MVP.
He was at one point.
I'm just saying that this year he was 20 and 10, 20 and 11, and led the league in assists. That's what he did.
Yeah. Yeah. But apparently not happy with that role.
I'm just saying, but that's what he did. So we're not talking about what he's doing on the court. We're talking about his free time. He's not having that conversation with any new coach.
If I was an assistant coach, though, and Harden told me that, I'd be like, yeah, but you were also 3 for, 15 when it mattered in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and that has nothing to do with his free time.
It doesn't?
Did it have something to do with Joel's free time? He was
Possibly. I'd say that more have to do with his knee than anything, but yeah.
Well, it had something to do with James' Achilles then.
Now you said he was healthy.
And so did Joel, too. He didn't say he took the brace off.
Yep.
Come on, man. Like, you just can't say it about one person. If you're saying it about one, you're saying it about everybody.
Yeah, but we know Embiid's not flying to Vegas for a night and flying back.
We don't know what he's doing his free time. We don't know. That's why it's none of our business.
Unless it impacts the team.
I know for a fact, you can put in the same kind of work staying in Philly as James did going to Las Vegas. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, that's fair.
Stay up all night, put in the same kind of work, just without the flight, without the charter flight.
Yep.
So Teja, you didn't give your stance on the coach.
Of who I prefer.
Yeah, you didn't give one. Because you're of the mindset that we're going to keep pretty much everything together and just change the coach and hopefully they can unlock something.
I think so. Yeah,
So
yeah.
who would be that person?
Because if you can't change the roster, what are you going to do to hopefully make things better? Coach? There's nothing else to change. What, the facility? I mean, like the weight machines? Like, that's all you really can do, right? If you can't.
If James decides to walk, you don't have a choice.
Well, that's a big roster change. I'm saying if our plan is to keep everything intact, if that's our plan, then
I don't see how that's the plan. Me personally, I think eventually they move to Tobias, even if it's now or during the trade deadline.
yes,
because they're going to get something for him, and they're not going to. I don't think they'll re-sign him. So I think they'll move him, and then James, like I believe the stuff about James going back to Houston more than I believe the issue that he said it was between me or Doc. I believe that more.
You don't think that's just a leverage pull?
I do believe it's a leverage pull, but I do believe that he would leave for that.
Yeah,
I firmly do believe that. He's not James isn't young, man.
I know.
Like, guys at the end of their career, you can be like, man, look, man, I'm gonna go down here and play a couple more years, live in my house in Houston. I already live there, I already have a place. Look, I'm gonna just go ahead and get these last couple years in and call it a career.
But I told Marcus the other day, I was like, look, if you're James and you're like, I'm not winning here, and all I'm doing is wrecking my points per game stats, I'm down to 20 points.
Getting criticized and blamed.
Yeah, I may as well go back to Houston.
I can easily see him leaving. It would not surprise me at all.
Houston may jack up 30 shots a game
somewhere else, but it definitely wouldn't surprise me to see him go to Houston. Earlier in the year, I was like, nah, he wouldn't do that. But now, nah, I firmly believe it.
Because if I'm not going to win, I may as well get stats. No. Right?
No, I mean, it ain't really stats. He done did his stats. He first ballot, top 75.
But every year he's being John Stockton. His points per game average is going down by like 2.
It ain't gonna go down. I mean, he already one of the top to do it. His scoring assists, he's one of the top players to do it. His numbers now aren't percentage as much as it is totals.
Mm-hmm.
You hear what I'm saying? Totals,
But the totals are going down though if he's scoring less.
No. I'm saying totals, career totals. Where are you on that totals list? So you're saying the numbers are going down, but he's moving up the totals list. He's moving up in the top scores. He's moving up in the top
at a slower pace than he was.
It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is he's moving up that list. He's not going down that list. So when you get to this part of his career, the percentages aren't as big as guys moving up the list. That's why that's why when they start talking about people's numbers, they're like, oh, he's top 20. He's a top 25 scorer now. Oh, he's a top 30 scorer now. That's what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. They're not saying, well, he's a top 30 scorer, but his percentage is 3% lower than it was 2 years ago. It's now because he's at that stage where everybody knows he's on the decline. He's at the end of his career. It's all about where are you going to finish amongst the greats in totals.
Yeah.
But with Houston, he was averaging almost double total points a season. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is a sacrifice. It is a sacrifice to his totals if he keeps playing the guy with Embiid.
But who's to say he's gonna lift that when he goes to Houston? They have two premier guards over there, dude.
Man, come on now. If he's going to Houston, he's going to.
That's what I'm saying.
He's going to Houston average 30 a game.
Teja, I understand what you're saying. I'm saying when he gets to this stage of his career, I don't think the percentages are as big as where you are as the totals.
No, I agree. No, I totally agree. But saying that, we're talking about double the amount of output on a team like Houston.
I know what I'm saying, but just
he'll be climbing a lot faster at 2,400 points a season than
yeah. I mean, but I think with him it comes down to just wanting to be where you want to be, like be down there in this.
Well, yes, that's definitely
be where you want to be. The expectations aren't high. You can play. He can go down there and play 4 more years and just be like. And now the percentages, as you said, they go lower and lower. But averaging 16 points here and there is two different things.
Mm-hmm. So, Teja, no coach you prefer? Just to end this topic.
Prefer?
You want him to go on the record, huh, man? He just wants you to go on the record. Say you don't know, man. Say I have no idea.
Yeah. If you want to wait till we get somebody, then you can kind of talk about where you see this thing going. And sure, you can do that. But I mean, I have a preference. I want Cassell to be the guy. So I mean,
I think the only guys I have a problem with would be Vogel and I'm not really a Bud guy. But Cassell, D'Antoni, Monty Williams, Nick Nurse.
You'd have no problems.
I really wouldn't have a problem with any of them. I don't. They're not bad coaches. And I think Cassell deserves a shot. You know, at what point does Cassell deserve a shot to be a head coach?
Yeah, I mean, he turned down that Temple job this year, this couple months back. So I mean,
I will say though, man, taking over this job, you got, man, talk about expectations and ready to get fired. I mean, like you're starting the job on the hot seat, taking this job. So that's the only thing I'd be worried about if I were Cassell.
And T. Lue took over for Doc when Doc left the Clippers. Another assistant who jumped into that role.
Yeah, it's true.
Who was that?
Tyrone.
T. Lue took over for Doc after Doc left.
In the Clippers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had already been the head coach.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. But I feel like getting that new blood of a guy who wasn't a head coach before, kind of giving that, letting Cassell finally have his shot with this team where he's already developed relationships with. I mean, I think that would be.
Maury's a big fan of previous personal relationships, though, and he's a big fan of high-profile people. Cassell doesn't. He takes about 1.5, maybe a half of those. He has a recent relationship with him. Long term, obviously, D'Antoni would have that, and I guess he's high profile.
Yeah.
Well, we may have to look and see whose agent everybody is. So.
Yeah, I should start looking into that. Actually.
Which agency does he has a relationship with?
That's crazy. I didn't realize there's that big of a monopoly on head coaches' agents. Like there's only like you said, there's only a small amount. There's not many.
What's a small amount that has the top guys?
Mm.
It's not like it's 10. You know, you got like 10 candidates. They all got 10 different agents. Like most of these guys got the same agent.
Wow, That's wild.
So sometimes you have to look and see who Morey has a history of relationship with as far as agency.
Teja, there you go. Research for you.
And by the way, looking at total points career, Harden's at 24, 20, almost 25,000. To get into the top 10, he needs about 4+, almost 5,000. So those 1,200 a year are pretty important when trying to climb in to get in those top 10, top 5.
That's why I'm saying, like, you go somewhere, I'm saying the totals that's why I said the percentage don't matter as much as it's those totals.
Yeah. It'll take him a lot longer to do it in Philly. Let's put it that way. With those 1,200 every year, take him a lot longer to get up there. If he goes to Houston, he'll be top 10 in like 2 years, 3 years. I don't know if he could ever do it in Philly, the way it's going, the way the offense is structured, unless you have D'Antoni coming in and switching things around. I don't know, but it would. He has a chance to get top 10 if he goes somewhere to maximize his scoring. So really, it comes down to: does he want to win, like he says he wants, or does he want to have his totals be amongst the greats?
Yeah,
I mean, he's already amongst the greats.
Yeah, no, I mean, top 30 is awesome. It is great. It's amazing. But, top 10 score of all time is,
Yeah. Well, the last topic, we'll come back to Harden and his future a little bit. We'll obviously go into that a little bit more as the offseason gets here. But I wanted to take us back to Game 7 a little bit to discuss a little bit of that now that we got the Doc stuff out of the way. So obviously, Sixers season ended Sunday in the Game 7. Good game before until we got to halftime, and then the third quarter just got dominated. That was awful.
good half. It was a good half.
It was a fun first half of basketball.
It was a good half.
We had that 9-point lead before the Harden flagrant. That was I think that was kind of where everything just kind of went south. But we were outscored 33-10. One of the worst third quarters in Sixers playoff history.
No, I think I read it is the biggest.
It was tied for the lowest points scored in Sixers history in a quarter.
Oh, okay, no, but the disparity though, I think is the largest of all time in a quarter into Game 7. I read.
Oh no,
23 points, even worse.
That's pretty bad. But yeah, so kind of the way Game 6 ended, it was kind of the way where Game 7 kind of went. But there's something after the game, the post-game show on NBA TV I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about. So after the game, Sam Mitchell and Greg Anthony had interesting comments. Sam said our lack of depth hurt us and that Harden can only play one sort of way on offense, a high pick and roll, and that Boston figured it out. Greg said it was because of lack of roster flexibility and we only had one-dimensional players. So which would you guys lean as the culprit? And is there anything we could have done differently?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard. I mean, I know Greg and Sam, big, older guys that I look up to. I value their opinion. I would have to say that I don't know if it's an opinion coming from a whole season. I think it's an opinion coming from right now.
Yeah.
I'll take Sam first. And the pick and roll and Boston figuring him out. I think he's right. I think he was right that we put him in a lot of pick and roll, and they did figure it out, and that's why they put Jaylen Brown on him. They put a bigger guy on him that was bigger for the switching, and they did different things for the switch, for the pick and roll. They made adjustments in that pick and roll. So, and you say Greg said lack of depth?
Lack of roster flexibility, and we only have one-dimensional players.
I think that I think we had it. I think maybe we were locked into playing a certain way because we had to have guys fit Joel and James. but I think we had the roster flexibility. But we got into the playoffs and we didn't play near as many guys that, like Shake Milton was playing a lot. In the playoffs, he didn't play at all. So, you even looked at Boston. I think Game 6, they only played 8 guys.
Yeah, they went real short. I think Game 7, they played 7 guys.
They played all the last game and didn't play it all to Game 7 to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
they pretty much only used Brogdon and White, and that was it.
That's what I'm saying. So it wasn't like they played a lot of people too. They just happened to win. So I think that rotation just got cut for both teams.
Yeah.
So
and Sam was even saying, like, if you look at the guys like Brogdon and White playing, he's like, those guys are starters on most people's teams, and they're the 6th and 7th men on that team.
Yeah, I mean they have 7 locked in players, but I also think Milton has showed good promise as a starter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they probably deeper, but you're talking about one person deeper. It's not like they went 9-10 into the bench.
He also said he made a point to say how good their bench is, that Grant Williams played major minutes against the Warriors last year, and he couldn't even see the floor this year. That's how talented they were.
Nah, I think this is the same team. They just Brogdon changed them. They brought another guy in that can play off the bench and play on the perimeter. He has helped them play better. I think Grant Williams' issue a lot came into the fact that Williams was in and out of the lineup last year with his injuries. But with him playing more and playing consistently, it has kind of leveled out Grant Williams' play. You didn't really need them both.
Yeah.
But last year he was needed with Williams in and out the lineup.
They don't even have Gallinari. He's been injured all year. So that's the funny thing. Man. Oy. So it's probably like a mixture of both points, actually.
Yeah, I see what they're saying. I mean, just to say that if you're saying Boston is deeper and better, they had a better record. They're a better team. Obviously, they put us out. Yeah. But to say that we don't have it, and I don't agree with us not having it. We just wasn't better than the team that had the second best record, and we had the third best record. But we had that same team that we're talking about. We had a chance to beat them at home in Game 6. The same team. Yeah. We had 2 chances to beat them.
Yep.
So we can say all this, but we still had 2 chances to beat them. We just didn't do it. So winning Game 6 at home, we are having a total different conversation right now.
Yep. Whole different show.
Total different conversation.
Yeah.
So this in a way kind of feels to me like it kind of feeds into what Harden was complaining about Doc and his style. Like it was a pick and roll or bust.
Allegedly,
sure. Well, allegedly. He's gone now, so there's smoke, there's fire, I guess. So it was like a pick and roll or bust, and then we only have these one-dimensional players. Do we only have one-dimensional players? Or does it kind of feed in what you just said, Eric, or were they only asked to be one-dimensional? Like, hey, we need you to sit in that corner and shoot. We need you to do this. Like, Tobias can do a lot more than what he was doing, but he was being relegated to a catch and shooter because that's what we need him to do at that position.
Is that Doc, or is that because you have to play a certain way to play with the top players?
And this ties into a lot of my complaints with the allocation of those funds to a guy of Tobias's role. It wasn't Tobias. Tobias is capable of being a 20-plus scorer a night player. It's that position on this team is not going to take more than 10 shots a game.
I joke with you, and I understand what you mean by that. But all I've always said was when he was given those funds, his role was different.
Yes.
So now that you change his role, like you can't now all of a sudden tell him.
Well, yeah, because back then when we gave him that role, we had 9 shot a game Ben Simmons. That's why we needed a guy who could.
So that's what I'm trying to say. So that's all it is. You
just change
the team, so you can't all of a sudden start telling him, well,
and look, he adapted really well, and that's another guy who was hard for. Like we said, the hot and cold. Houston Harden tonight. Tobias, we need you to be the guy we paid $39 million to. Can you score 25 points today? Sure. I only shot 5 times last game, but I'll see what I can do.
Shots. Yeah.
It's not easy. If the role change was a consistent role change, that'd be one thing, but it all goes top. It's every game they changed over. Like, okay, we need you to be he's off today. We need you to score 25. It's easier said than done every single game. And we even, as far as like versatility goes, we talked about this last year. We have a lot of very similar players going into the year. So there were some redundancies on our roster that we had going into the year. I also I think I read recently we were bottom 3 of the league in players cutting to the rim, which is a little upsetting to see. And I think with Brett Brown, we were actually top of the league, which is interesting.
That was style of play, and that was personnel, because you have a lot of cutting because your quote unquote second best player cut a lot to be more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
You had to cut him to get him to the basket. Or get him.
That's what Sam and Greg were like. Harden's not changing his game like that year 14. What he is right now. That's his style, and that's what he plays. You can't just say, all right, Harden, it ain't working. Time to set a pick and then cut to the rim. Like, he's not going to do that. That's not his thing. So, whose fault or problem is that? Ours, but on the court, I mean. Honestly, I just think we just didn't have another gear, and Boston and Tatum did. Like, he was his best version of himself, and our guys just really weren't. Harden was just too passive, and we need him to be more aggressive. We said that in Game 6.
All I'm saying is, we can say what we want to say. Doc's gone. We don't say more about Doc. We don't say more about James. From the fourth quarter and 4 minutes left on through to the end of Game 7, their number one option showed you he was the number one option.
Yes.
So
it showed he was the best player in the series.
Maybe it was injuries, and I'm hoping and thinking maybe that's what it was. But I firmly believe if our number one option and our MVP would have did the same, we would be playing Miami Heat at home tomorrow night.
Yep. I was going to bring that up too. So Bill Simmons on his podcast said he talked to people in the arena. They said that play where Embiid landed on Smart underneath the basket. They're saying he tweaked. They say they saw him like tweak his leg, and they said he couldn't lift after that. He had no jump after that. I didn't think I had a close enough look at that. And then Russillo said that he felt that one play, I think in Game 6, where Harden on a fast break went through his legs, and Joel kind of had a weird landing. He said he saw him playing with his leg a lot there. So we don't know. Joel was probably we knew he was dealing with a lot, but we don't know.
6-week recovery, man. He recovered.
Yeah, and that's before you.
What is it? So he was injured, and that's why we lost. We still fired the coach. So
yeah. We needed a different kind of doc.
We got excuses, sources, all this other stuff. So Doc's gone, and at the end of the day, you win the game. We're not having these conversations.
Yes,
with him, with Doc still there, with James feeling how he feels or whatever else, and Joel hurt or whatever else y'all sources and everybody else have to say, we still had a chance to win the game.
I know.
At home in Game 6, a team that we had beaten in Game 1 on the road without Joel.
Yeah.
Say it however you want to say it. That's where it all went south. Yeah. Not winning that game.
Yeah. It's unfortunate too, because I think Doc made a comment about he was never able to coach a healthy Joel in the playoffs yet. He's like, I still haven't seen a healthy Joel in the playoffs in my couple of years here. But
we had an unhealthy Joel with a lead in the fourth quarter in Game 6.
Yep.
So Joel, James, Doc, Maxey, Tobias, PJ, everybody else, we got to figure out how to win that game.
Yep.
Yeah. So that leads us to our next topic, which are we talking about steps to success or is the season a failure? So we're going to get into some quotes that reflecting on the season. So now our former head coach, Doc Rivers, said after the game on Sunday, this loss absolutely diminishes what we did this year. PJ Tucker agreed and said, yeah, I agree 1,000%. To go down like that without feeling like you have a full fight in 2 games is disappointing to win the series. Embiid said with a smile, like someone said, it's not a failure. It's a step to success. He also said that's the best team in the league, losing to them in 7 games. I thought for the most part we played hard and we came up short. Harden agreed and said, we are only 1 year in. We just played a team that's been together for quite a few years now. They were in the finals last year, and they know what it takes to get back there. This is only year 1, a full year. So it was great. So my question to you guys is, do you guys agree with Doc and Tucker that because of how the Celtics series ended, that this year is a failure, or with Embiid and Harden and the fact that losing to the best team in the league is not a failure? So are you guys team Giannis on this one or not?
Disappointing end. I don't believe in this a failure. It's disappointing, but failure, I don't agree with that.
Yeah. I think we talked about this last week, even going into the Game 7. I think it would only be considered a failure because we were up 3-2. Going into the Boston series, we didn't know when Embiid was going to play. We said he was definitely going to be out Game 1, probably out Game 2, maybe for Game 3. Most people didn't even give us a chance. Like
I mean, I just for me, it's just hard to say, failure when you play 82 games and then you ended up in 3rd place behind the team, and you lost to that team that was number 2 that showed for 82 games that they were a better seed, and then you lose to them. No matter, it was ugly. Yeah, that loss was ugly, but you still lost to a team that had worked all season to be home court advantage. That's why they had the Game 7 at home, and you lose that game. Highly disappointing, but can we say it's a shock? No. So I don't believe in the failure.
And we've seen him do it before. We've seen Boston do that exact same thing.
It's disappointing. It's a failure. No.
Do I think losing a series being up 3-2 is a choke job? Yeah, I'll say we choked. Do I think losing to a superior?
I wouldn't say it's
really? You don't think that's a choke?
Series.
Well, that's that's a colossal choke. That's like
that's what I'm saying. So you got different levels
of that choke. This
was like different levels of choke.
Yeah, you'll get it up at some point after this one. After you get with the Doc, then it comes up. That was like
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like when I
get in the hospital,
job, I think about the Hawks.
That's like a collapse. Like I don't even choke doesn't even do it. But do I think losing to a superior team makes you a failure? No, and they are the better team. I think we had top end, although they didn't play like it, but they're the better overall team. And James is right. I mean, Boston's been to 5 out of 7 semifinals. I can make an argument that's a bigger failure that Boston hasn't won a ring in those years. 5 times in the semifinals in 7 years, you haven't won a ring yet? I think that's a bigger fail than being up 3-2 against a better team and losing. But no one calls Boston a failure, even though, hey, if we go back to before Game 6, everyone was talking about Boston tearing it down and getting rid of and separating Brown and Tatum. Remember that? That's funny how things are.
That's why I said, you win Game 6, it's a totally different conversation.
Yeah, it's yeah. And on top of that, it's funny that Doc says that too, right? He losing, being up 3-2 makes your entire season a failure. Well, then, Doc, if that's the case, then most of your career was a failure then because you've had a lot of playoff chokes. So if you're going to go with that rationale for this season, then I guess you call at least 7 years of your career failures then because he's done this a lot. So I hope he doesn't call every single season that ends this way a failure because, yeah.
I'm just saying, but if a season doesn't end this way and you lose and you don't make the playoffs, is that not a failure too? So that's what I'm saying. We're looking at failures every year then.
Yeah.
No, you're better off. Actually, I think you're better off just missing the playoffs than getting in and losing. Because with the minute you get in and lose, coach is gone.
I'm just saying, but it's all a failure. I mean, you didn't win the championship.
Yeah. I will say, Teja, the threshold for us in Boston is a little different. Our threshold was just getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. They've already they get there every year, like you said. So, I mean,
but do you remember before we lost, though, I said it would actually be a better look to lose to Boston in this series than to beat Boston and lose to an inferior Miami, because we are better than Miami. Losing to Miami would be a major choke job in the Eastern Conference Finals. We're much better, and they're injured.
And I think we'd be having the same conversation. If that were to happen, we'd be having the same conversation we're having right now in this episode, but just in 2 weeks, if that were to happen, like you're saying.
If we lost to Miami, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think losing to Miami would trump getting into the Eastern Conference Finals. Because if I were to tell you you play Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals after losing Hero and Oladipo, you'd say, "Oh, we're going to the finals. We're going to the championship."
If we were lucky enough to do that, that would have meant that we would have lost a home game.
Yes.
1, 2, 5, or 7.
Mm-hmm.
We lost one of them.
Yep.
Yeah. So the last quote that I want to talk about from Game 7 is about toughness, something that we all talked about, or our guys talked about after we lost to Miami last year. We thought we just needed toughness, and we brought that in. We brought the guy that, but PJ Tucker said, quote, "We weren't very tough. We weren't very physically tough, emotionally tough, mentally tough. It just wasn't enough." And Bede said, quote, "You can be as tough as you want mentally, but if you can't respond by making shots, that doesn't mean you are weak mentally. We kept shooting and we kept missing, and that's okay. Maybe it just wasn't meant to be." So Embiid was the one saying we needed to bring toughness to this team. We brought that, and now he's saying it wasn't really about toughness anymore. Who do you guys agree with on the toughness aspect?
I mean, you got the same locker room in two different perspectives. You have the perspective of the new guy. You have the perspective of the guy that's been there, a longer tenured guy.
And lost a lot.
So I don't think either guy's wrong, because I think the perspectives of how they view it are correct. The toughness is needed, but I don't think the toughness is needed collectively. I think it's more of an individual thing. I think some guys are tough physically, maybe not tough mentally. Some tough guys are tough mentally and maybe not physically. Or some guys aren't tough emotionally. I think that's an individual feel for the team, but I think most teams are like that. Joel say making shots. That's some of that is mental toughness, physical toughness, fighting through it, being tired, or fighting through shooting slumps, and so I think it's all connected. I think that what they're saying is more connected than I think they realize, that they really kind of feel the same way and saying it two different ways.
Mm. I just based off the statements, we were weak. We were very weak. And just saying, we shot, we missed. No, I don't. Try different things. Try getting your ass to the lane and post up deep, Joel. I mean, if your shots aren't going in, stop shooting those shots. Drive.
But that takes a mental and emotional toughness. And
exactly,
going on the post takes a physical toughness.
Yeah. And Bede wanted Tucker in for that. So it's like, listen to the man. Like
that's what I'm saying. But Tucker's toughness and his are different because the what you're asked to do isn't the same.
Yes.
So it's easy to play your role and bring it, but you also aren't in someone else's role. And to say, and you say that we can sit up here and you're implying for him not going down there and maybe not being physically tough, he's still the MVP. So he was tough enough to get an MVP. So that's why I say it's hard to just say that.
And let's not forget that he had to do that whole pep talk to Joel after that and one.
Yeah, we don't know what he said.
Right? So
we don't know what the pep talk, it may not be pep talk. It may just be encouragement.
It was social work. Remember?
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's what he said. But it may be encouragement. But
Yeah, I think it had something to do with how you can dominate Al Horford. I know you can. I know you're capable of, kind of thing.
Yeah. So I mean, you can say that. But you can also say that in the locker room. We would have never seen it.
Yeah. I mean, bottom line is you're an MVP. You're one of the most dominant players in the league.
Yeah.
Get to the paint, draw contact, go to the line.
You should need a pep talk for that.
Yeah. Slow the game down, get to the line, draw contact. If there's a toughness guy I want to listen to, it's Tucker. So I tend to, since toughness is the subject, I'll lean Tucker on that one.
I Bleav Tobias also mentioned toughness too in his press conference as well, as something we didn't have. But one important thing to draw from
if they didn't have it, then what? They just gonna go lift weights and develop it next year?
Maybe spend the summer with PJ.
Yeah,
you saying we didn't have it, but how you gonna go get it?
Acquire more PJs, clone PJ,
or you start from, or you can
claim that we can't make shots.
Yeah,
maybe that's why they made the coaching move.
I'm just saying.
Maybe they feel like they came from coaching.
Give up something, you're gonna be complaining about what you don't have.
Yeah.
How about just winning game 6?
Yes.
Yeah. Demanding the ball in the last 4 minutes. Yeah.
Win game 6.
But Embiid said he's going to work on his ball handling this offseason. He already has a plan for ball handling. That's what he needs to work on, which that's not what do you think about that as far as what he plans to do? Yeah, he says he's going to work on his ball handling.
Yeah. You serious?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what he said in his press conference. He already has a plan of what he's going to plans on working on this offseason. And I Bleav ball handling was it, right? There was nothing else? Yeah.
I think Sam Mitchell said it should be noticing when the double team's coming, because by now you should be more accustomed to seeing when the double team's coming and adjust to that.
Yeah, I would say get down the block and start getting the jump hook and
yes.
Move over your left shoulder and then move over your right shoulder. That's what I would say.
No.
Building up the conditioning to do that at a consistent rate. Yeah, left shoulder, right shoulder. Array of moves. Maybe working with Akeem Olajuwon with that.
Yeah.
Or whomever else, or Kareem, or whoever else it could be.
Mm-hmm.
Pat Ewing. Getting with some of those guys, Shaq, and working over your left shoulder, right shoulder. They're going to W. They're going to have to W quick. And they're going to have to W deep.
Yeah.
But
and then go do your ball handling.
Yeah. When you hear him say that ball handling is the number one thing he's going to work on this summer, what does that suggest to you, Eric? He wants to maybe mimic more of a Jokic type game? I mean, what does that mean?
He's going to be more on the perimeter. That's what it tells me.
Oh boy. Well, so we'll have plenty of offseason to talk about all the videos we may see if he is going to work with some of those guys, Eric. Hopefully we're on this show in a couple of months talking about Embiid worked out with Kareem or Olajuwon this Sunday.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen.
No, hopefully we can hope. Last thing before we go, before we end the show, just want to. So obviously the Harden rumors, we said we're going to talk about a little bit more of that. We're going to get into that all offseason, but one rumor that came out with Harden, obviously we've talked about the Houston stuff for months, but the newest rumor is that he has his sights set on Phoenix, if not a return back to Houston. So what are your thoughts on the potential of Harden going to Phoenix? And the only way that would be to happen, it would have to be a sign and trade, if Phoenix would have to get rid of Chris Paul as well as DeAndre Ayton to make the contracts work for that to happen. So what do you guys think of that potential?
I mean, it's just, to me, it's just people just coming up with stuff like neither team has a coach right now. Like, yeah. How are we talking about where the players are going? We don't even know who's going to coach them. It's just like, why are we having this conversation? Like, I don't know the direction. We don't know the direction of the teams. We don't know the direction in management. We don't know the direction and coach. Like we don't know. So it's. I mean, I
A
understand.
lot of reports out of Phoenix right away came out that they're going to try really hard to get rid of Ayton's contract and Paul's contract. That's where it started, and then when same thing about Harden.
Like, I mean, Chris older, you seen that coming. Ayton had issues last year, didn't sign with someone else, and they matched it.
Mhm.
Like, did we forget this?
He certainly didn't.
he signed with someone else and they matched it. And Chris is older, and everyone knows. Like, why is that a shock that we talking about those two guys there?
But if you heard we did a swap, arrow staying, arrow up, arrow down for Chris Paul for Harden swap.
I don't see why we would do that. If we're gonna move James, we got to move James and get some younger pieces.
I think the reason why I would say we would is just because Chris Paul's contract's half guaranteed this year and not guaranteed at all next year. So it would be a way to kind of somewhat keep a similar roster for at least this 1 year. And then you have Tobias and Paul's contract both coming off the books at the same time. You get $75 million off your books. And you can pretty much start from scratch with Embiid and Maxey and go from there.
So then we're not talking about winning the championship next year.
But I think you still could if you had Chris Paul for this 1 year, right? I mean, it's close enough to Harden to the point where it's still you're still contending, right? I don't think it's that big of a
drop. You're saying that honestly?
I don't think it's that big of a drop off.
I didn't say it was a big drop off. I'm just saying, are you still saying you're trying to win a championship? I'm asking you a question.
Yeah, you're still competing.
So making this move, you're gonna come to us and say we're still trying to win a championship. That's what you're gonna come to us as fans and say.
For 1 year, we're going to give it a try with the same team, but instead of Harden, CP3 for 1 year
with a new coach. No way. I'm not buying that. I don't know about everybody else. I'm not buying that. I'm just saying, okay, we'll still be competitive. We'll still make the playoffs, but you can't tell me you're trying to win a championship.
But we were contending for rings when we went from Brown to Doc, right? Even though we did a coaching switch.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but you got a Phoenix Suns saying they're trying to win a championship and they're moving away. You said they're moving away from Chris. And so we're going to take them and say, yeah, well, we're not like you guys. We're going to take Chris and we're trying to win a championship.
I think it's mostly just a stopgap for us because we don't want Harden to leave for nothing. That's the thing. Because if Harden leaves, we still don't have any money to spend. We're still tied. Our hands are tied. But at least this way, you get
James also want more money, so you would imagine that he'll help. He'll want to move for something so he can get his best deal.
Yes. Yeah. That's why Ayton would probably have to be involved because Paul makes 30, and I think Harden wants 40.
And you're moving Ayton somewhere else, right?
You'd have to. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it really depends on what you would get for that Ayton piece.
You mean like what we would bring here to equal the salary of Paul and Harden? Yeah.
You said Ayton would be a part of it, but Ayton would go somewhere else. I said it would.
Yeah.
I would guess you would have to see what that is. Because if that's another guy that's not going to give you flexibility the next year, then I don't understand it.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun offseason. I'll tell you that much.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I wish Harden would just opt in to one friggin' year and then him and Tobias could come off the books together next year.
He's not going to do that.
No way he's doing that. No way.
No. But at least with that Phoenix scenario, we get something back for him instead of him just going to Houston without getting anything.
At least for 1 year.
Yeah. But
at least. Maybe 2. I mean, that's the beauty of Paul's contract. It's pretty much like a 1 year deal for the rest of his contract.
But Phoenix is going to give up their starting center and starting point guard for James.
I would assume they'd get something back in that Ayton deal, like half of that contract, whatever that is. Like we get like a $17 million player, they would get like a $15 million player, and they would get James, and we would get Chris Paul. I mean, this is all completely craziness and speculative, but
yeah.
But I have heard with all the crazy salary cap restrictions that are coming up, it's going to be a wild. I heard it's going to be a wild offseason of guys being moved. Just because teams are going to try to clean up their cap as much as possible before they get restricted on the hard cap, the second hard cap.
Yeah, we'll see.
So
Yes, we will. They're going to be a fun off season, and I'm sure by the time our next show, we're going to have more rumors about where
we're going to
Harden's
have 10 more rumors by then, guys.
Definitely. Every week it's going to pile up. And maybe we'll have a new coach by the next time we see each other. Who knows?
Maybe. Oh, that's a good. Do you think we'll have a new coach by the next time we meet?
But next week?
Yeah.
No, because I think that the interview process will take a little longer. But I do think that it'll be probably looking at second interviews.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Fine.
Yeah, I'm surprised Harris. I'm still surprised Harris made the move to get rid of Doc. I mean, he's got so much going on with this whole Washington Commanders stuff. I mean, I'm surprised he wanted to even do this.
Maybe he's going to hire Doc to be their coach.
Yeah. We'll see.
Just to move him to Washington.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. Well, we'll see you guys next week. We hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you guys next week as we continue this off season full of rumors.
All right. Hang in there.
Easy.